All right. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit this morning about process triage and our acquisition. I mentioned it on LinkedIn and got a lot of comments and text messages from folks asking to find out more about the company that we acquired and how that's going to play into the work that we do here at the Process Fixer. Now, if you've known me for more than, I don't know, a couple of years, you know that I have been a process geek for 2 decades, starting in sustainability and really helping to understand the full life cycle of companies and their products and the recycling of those products, and then on into my career as a COO. Now, I've been a systems guy. I've created systems. I love systems. And when we started the Process Fixer back up after I left Fat Scooters 3 years back, we were really focused on helping companies to improve their efficiency and become more profitable through a focus on process. Over time, that evolved, and we started to bring a lot more of the human element into it. In April, Tracy Ann joined me after 13 years at Salesforce as a change management and project management expert, and came over to help us build a change management practice. Back in July, we brought on Sam Bradford, former head of personal development, and a lot of responsibility for the culture of Dutch Bros. If you're here on the West Coast, you know what I'm talking about. Dutch Bros has a culture that every one of us emulates and wants to be, but it's very different than what you think when you really take it apart and understand how Dutch Bros creates that amazing sense of value and well-being and place and purpose. When I came across Process Triage, fortunately, the folks over at System and Soul introduced me to Rosie Rosenberg, who is the CEO and founder of Process Triage. He and I had a call in August, and very quickly I came to understand the importance of what Rosie had discovered. It was a completely different way of thinking about process, something I had never done before. And in all the work I'd done, all the readings I'd done, being a disciple of Deming and Taiichi Ohno, and really truly grasping how attention to process and attention to quality and value was important. When I saw what Rosie did, it was so mind-blowing to me, because for so many years as a process consultant, I've had to get in under the hood and try to figure it out. We've had to either use an approach of management by wandering around, where I have people in the business looking around, checking things out, trying to find inefficiencies and attacking those. I've also sat in boardrooms where I'm being told by the executives what the challenges are, and then going out, trying to figure that out, trying to figure out how to implement change around that and bring the people along with us. When I saw what Rosie did, it changed my mind on the way to think about the entry point to process. I recognized that in the past, it had been very expensive to do these kind of things. You can certainly go just document process. There's lots of companies out there that do that, including one big one here in town, Trainual. But the approach was to sit down with executives and have them document what they believe the process is. I've known, after 20 years of being in this business, that executives know very little about process and about how the work is done. Actually, let me rephrase that. On a whole, executives know right about nothing about how things actually get done inside their business. They're too focused on the inputs and outputs. And if they're smart, they're focusing on the outcome for their customers. They're focusing on the business. Yet they've left the inside of the business, the details of the business, to someone who has wreaked chaos inside that area. So we've known for a long time that you've got to go to the frontline employees and actually ask them what's happening, have them show you the process, and then and only then can you make improvements on it. Well, what Rosie has done with Process Triage does just that. Let me show you. This is a Process Triage map. Well, actually, this isn't. This is just a small little fraction of a Process Triage map. I'll show you here in a moment. This is what a Process Triage map looks like. I'm going to make you sick there with my clicking back and forth. This is what a Process Triage map looks like. A Process Triage map is different because instead of asking the executives what's happening, Rosie was bringing in the frontline employees of a company, sitting them in a room with him for a day, locked in that room without any external distractions. And he's saying, show me the path from lead to cash. Show me the path from invoice to payment. Show me the path from idea to, bringing that into an MVP. Show me the path. And what he does is he facilitates with the employees to not look at the actual work being done. right? Not look at the steps of the work, but the milestones of that work. Action, which is work, results, which is a completed segment of work. He has the employees document the completed segments of work in these circles and put them up on a board. Now that's important because when we does that, he's taking a noun and a past tense verb to remind everybody this should end in ed because it's already happened. We put that all up on a huge board, either a sticky wall, or we can use a magnetic board. We can use a couple of different methodologies. We sit there and stand there with the employees, have them build this together. 6, 8, 10 of them build this together. We help them understand the dependencies between things. If this happens, does this happen? We're the expert that stands there guiding them. But in the end, they map out the entire process and all of the ways that this can go. Now, when we print these out for clients, certainly we send them the digital. These are 15, maybe 20 foot long, 3 feet by 20 feet long. For the first time ever, you as an executive have this ability to look at your business in a dimension that you have never done before. And I can tell you with absolute sincerity, every time I roll one of these maps out and put it up on a wall with a CEO or a group of executives, and they see their company in this dimension, they don't say anything for a few minutes. They're sort of dumbfounded for a couple of minutes because they recognize the interconnectivity of all these things that they've only seen on a balance sheet in the past, things that have only been written in a written plan. They may have gotten a Gantt chart at some point, right? But they've never truly seen the interconnectedness of the objects in their business. They've never seen their company as an actual individual. And when they do, it is really enlightening because all of a sudden they start to say, well, wait, why are we doing this? Why are we going down this path? I didn't think we went this way. Why would we detour over here when we should be focused on this? And they can strategically make decisions about the organization based upon their ability to survey the battlefield in real time and understand the interconnectivity between all the objects on the field. Now, the cool part about this is not only is the map the deliverable, the map is just a secondary part. Actually, I love what Rosie says. He's like, the map is what it is. What really this is about is once it is mapped, then asking the employees, asking them to say, look, imagine this is a patient. Imagine that it's laid out here, and imagine that we're the surgeons and we have the ability to fix it, to help it. What things hurt and what are the solutions to this? So what happens is the employees then go by themselves and they write down where they experience a quantifiable experience with pain. This can't be like Joe's a jerk. It can't be that I hate salespeople. It has to be something like 50% of the time, sales orders are incomplete and lack the information needed to move to the next step. 20% of the time, the software doesn't work. 11% of the time, we get an error message back from the machine. Whatever those things are. And then we have them write them on pink sticky notes. And then all at the same time, we ask them to stand up and walk to the board and place their sticky notes in the place where they are individually experiencing pain. Now you can see it here. Here's a great example, a whole cluster. This happens almost every time. Pain is very focused in areas. And once you have that pain trickles the whole way down through the organization. But let's just look at one of these. This is a good example. You can see these numbers. These numbers are just geolocations of where work is happening, something that we do. And these little circles, like the stop sign kind of things here, this is how the employees have ranked the importance of that pain in relation to the health of the company. So here's a great one. Here's a pass off between our sales department and our operations department. And we have a statement here that project expectation meetings, that's sales meeting with the project team, are not performed 80% of the time. That's a big problem. How do I build? This is a commercial construction company, about a $20 billion commercial construction company case study. How do they build this building down here if they don't even know what they're building? So what's the solution? Well, we walk the employees through and we ask them a few questions. Does the people not showing up to the meeting 80% of the time, does it inhibit the capability of this company? Does it inhibit us? Does it stop us from progressing? We can talk a lot about capability goals and why it's important to set those, but for the sake of brevity, let's just assume that we're thinking about this and does it stop us from achieving our goals? Yes, it does. We take them through the process of triage. We ask them to read out that question. 80% of the time, the salespeople don't show up for the pass-off meeting. And we ask them, do we know the most likely cause? If the answer is no, well, then the solution is analyze the most likely cause. spool up a little project, get out, talk to people, find things out. If the answer is yes, we do know the most likely cause, then do we have a best practice? Does everybody have a best practice, right? Well, I mean, we've sort of told them, no, that doesn't work. If we do have a best practice, then the question is, has everybody been trained on it? And when was the frequency of that training? And this is not send a memo. This is think about potty training a baby. Do you just hand them a roll of toilet paper and say, select your gender? No, there's rigor to that. Training means that there's no possible way in this universe that they don't know. That's what training means. If we haven't yet trained them, how can I bring them to accountability to attend a meeting that there's no best practice on, there's no requirement, and they haven't been trained on that requirement. So I got to solve those problems first. All of those things are done, then the solution is simply enforce. Now, I know as executives, we don't like that. We don't like having to tell people to do the thing. Okay, that's fine. Then let's go back. The reason that we don't like telling people to do the thing, I think somewhat is, remember your grandmother said, when you point your finger at somebody, 3 fingers point back. We know that we have not written a best practice. We've not clearly communicated and articulated why it's important. We haven't trained everybody on it. So now enforcement seems very shallow because we're sitting here going, well, maybe we never were really clear with them in the first place. So solve that problem. The only people at the end that won't do it are the people that shouldn't work there anyways, right? The people that refuse to abide by the best practice and the training that the organization has given them. Do you really want those people on your team? Not that we're going to get into an HR talk here, but the reality is that's what this system does. We then list all of those things for you. As the employees said what the solution was, train and enforce. With our first one, train and enforce a project planning process, design and implement strategies and systems. We ask them, is this a big thing? Is this a small thing? We then sit down with you as an executive team and we say, here are the 15 or 20 things that your employees say are important and that are going to slow us down and potentially kill us as an organization. Let's focus on the top 20%. Let's do Pareto. What are the top 5 here? And then how do we execute on that? You likely can execute on most of these things yourself. But in the case that you need help doing that, well, that's our model. That's where the process fixer steps in. That's where certified consultants step into play to say to the client, here's the challenges you're having. Here's the proposed solutions to those. Can you do those on your own, or do you need a third-party consulting firm to come up and gird you up and support you in that? That's the combination of process triage and process fixer. I'm excited about this. We are using a method of certified facilitators. Our plan is to get at least 50 of those onboarded by the end of the year. We've got our first 20 already booked into sessions. So we're excited about that. We want to expand this considerably across the US. And this methodology, I can just tell you in one day, the amount of clarity that you get about your business is like nothing I have seen in 25 years of being in business. It's that good. I've had 2 CEOs now calling it $1 million day. They're like, let's do another one of those $1 million days, because they understand that at the cost point to just do a 1-day workshop, to pull your people out for a day, that there's at least $1 million in value there if you can execute on those proposals. And we can help you with that too. That is the combination of process triage and process fixer. I'd love for you to find out more. It is an amazing process. We have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of case studies for every, and I can guarantee you that whatever industry you are in, I can send you a case study that will show you how this works in a company that is similar to you. Process triage methodology has been around since the early 90s. This is not something that's been half-baked. That's why I loved it, and it made so much sense for me. This is a methodology that 500,000 pain points have been taken through and found solutions for. If you've got pain in your organization, if you have inefficiency in your organization, hell, if you just want to make more money and have a higher level of satisfaction and improve the quality of experience for your people, call us today.